Oh, God bless you. All right. For those of you who weren't here the last couple weeks, we've been studying about David's kingdom has finally been restored, and Absalom has been killed. And we studied about Gilgal, which was a river crossing. Right. And we're going to find out more about that in just a minute. Actually, we already studied that, but I went ahead and passed that out. Did I do the shofar before y'all left or after?
Yes.
No. Can we do the shofar again?
I got it on tape. No, you missed the shofar.
Really?
Yeah, you did. You missed the shofar.
That's a shame.
I'm
You gotta
sorry.
get it on tape.
To stay on schedule, I can't teach it again, but there's the handout. All right.
You watched,
All right,
if
we
you
are up
watched
to
it, you've seen it.
Chapter 19.
What?
Yeah, we did get that one on recording.
I
So.
didn't see that one.
Okay, so chapter 19, we're in 2 Samuel chapter 19, beginning with verse 16. Oh, I want to tell y'all something else that happened to me. I'm way ahead on my studies from here. Like right now we're studying chapter 19, and I'm up to chapter 22 in my studies, and then of course they go all the way through the end of the book, which is 24, or maybe a bit more than that. I know. But we're going to finish this book eventually, right?
Amen.
And I was praying about what I was going to do after this. You know, what book do I follow this with? Or what do I do, God? Because I could go back to my Sunday school quarterly.
No.
They're like, oh, I'm shaking my head and they're saying.
Okay. But what's cool about this, I'm reading this book by E.M. Baum on prayer. And this guy was a Methodist preacher in the late 1800s. And I'm reading this book, and he starts talking about how when David died, how his son became a man of prayer. And I'm thinking, Solomon became a man of prayer, right? Where's this found at? It's found in the book of 1 Kings. It's the next book after this one.
I wanted to do Kings.
So we're going to do Kings after this one because it follows in the lineage of David. It follows on with what's going to happen with the rest of these characters. Because, I studied these when I was a little kid, but I guarantee I didn't study it like I'm studying it now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How many people would learn a lot of Bible stories when they were a little kid?
Oh, yeah.
How many people learned them wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, animals 2 by 2 going into the ark, And the Bible says there's 7s. You have these little things you learn as you read the Bible that we've been taught some little tiny fibs somewhere around the way. Okay, let's get to our study now. We just finished that David's kingdom has been restored, okay? And we're going to start reading about Shimei. And y'all remember the little guy Shimei that was throwing rocks at them and cursing them as they came, but now they're coming back. Uh-oh. He thought they would leave and never come back. So here's Shimei. Verse 16. And Shimei, the son of Jerah, a Benjamite, was of Baharum, hasted and came down with the men of Judah and met to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they went over Jordan before the king. And they went over a ferry boat to carry over the king's household, and to do what he thought good. And Shimei, the son of Jerah, fell down before the king as he was come over Jordan, and said unto the king, Let not my lord impute iniquity upon me. Neither do thou remember that which thy servant did perversely the day that my lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take to his heart. For thy servant doth know that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I am come the first day of all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my lord the king. Okay, let me keep reading. Abishai, the son of Jeriah, answered and said, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should this day be adversaries unto me? Shall there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? Therefore the king said unto Shimei, Thou shalt not die. And the king sware unto him. Now we're going to stop there. Okay, remember Shimei, his name means loud or fame, right?
Right. Loud or fame?
Loud or fame, like fame.
Like famous.
Famous. I'm famous. I'm a famous guy,
I'm
right?
a famous guy.
Remember he cursed David in 2 Samuel chapter 16, 15, 5 through 14. And he was greeting with David with 1,000 men. Now this wasn't an army, this was a greeting thing. You know, like we greet the king, you know, when a king comes in, or I remember watching when in World War II, when the French and the British and the English came into France to liberate them, you know, how all the people stood on the sides of the streets. Well, this is how Shimei met David coming back, and he was also with Ziba. Now, y'all know who Ziba was. That was Mephibosheth's servant. And also, it was the same, and he also had his family with him. And remember, they tricked Ziba, because he was supposed to ride with them. But they said they couldn't find a donkey for him, so he got left behind. Because he couldn't walk, you know. That they didn't have the things we have nowadays. When you build buildings, you have to make them for people that are handicapped, you know. You know, they didn't have the right kind of horses and such for him. So, but they left him behind. But they crossed the River Jordan on a ferry boat. Now, I thought this was kind of interesting. This is the only time a ferry boat is mentioned, but this is also found at Gilgal, which I have a handout I'd hand out last week on Gilgal.
Right.
And here comes Shimei groveling before David, right? And he's pleading for forgiveness. Now, how does he plead for forgiveness? What does he do? What does he do? What does Shimei do? First of all, he confesses his sins, right? He says, I'm guilty.
Right.
And he's come to greet him from the house of Joseph. Now, this is interesting because Israel is the house of Joseph, right? And you remember, who was at war with David? The house of Joseph was. Israel was. Remember? Because David was from Judah. So then it comes to the point here. It says here in verse 21, Abishai, the son of Jeriah, wants to put him to death. Now this is the same Abishai that wanted to kill him earlier. Remember, he wanted to bust his head earlier. So David calls Abishai his adversary, and that word in Hebrew is Satan. Right? Adversary, Satan. Did y'all know that was a Hebrew word? I wasn't sure I didn't know that was a Hebrew word, but it is. It's a Hebrew word. Satan means adversary, means enemy. And but why would he call Abishai, one of his royal guards, Satan? I'll tell you why. David was through with bloodshed. But I bet Shimei was shaking in his boots when Abishai says, shouldn't we kill this man? And David said something very, very interesting, I thought. He said in verse 22, for do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? And you know, I played with that a little bit. It's not the I am of Moses.
No.
But I thought it was kind of interesting that the King James Version said that for I do know that I am is the king over Israel.
Wow.
It's hidden there, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit hidden there. I was staring at this stuff, and David swore. What did David swear?
He wouldn't kill him.
He wasn't going to kill him or anybody else that day. He called Abishai an adversary, and he also called him, he said that he wasn't of the house of Joseph or of David. Right? So he says, what do you have to do with me? You know? But this shows you something very interesting about mercy. Wasn't Shimei guilty of blasphemy against the king?
Yes.
You know, in the Middle East today, if you blaspheme the name of Allah, or if you draw a cartoon of him,
Oh, you get in trouble.
you could get in trouble. You would definitely be
Die.
murdered in some. I say murdered. You'd be executed in some circles because of that. Now we don't execute people because they make fun of Jesus, or we'd have killed South Park a long time ago.
We would have killed a lot of people.
Yeah, cartoons and such really do disgrace our Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And I don't watch those things, but I do know they're out there. So, but you know that God gave grace to Shimei, or David gave grace to Shimei, because he asked for forgiveness.
Right.
What do you think if he would have done to Shimei if Shimei had hid?
Hunted him down.
He probably would have hunted him down. He would have been a criminal. But God has a way of saving criminals.
Amen.
Yes.
I think also that David remembered his sin against Uriah and realized that if there was no judgment on him, how can he pass judgment on this guy?
Oh yeah. I passed judgment on this man when I've done worse, or much worse. Okay, that gets us to the next verse 24. Okay, so we're going to leave Shimei there and go on with Mephibosheth's faithfulness. And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and had neither dressed his feet nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes from the day that the king departed until the day he came again in peace. And it came to pass, when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said unto him, Wherefore wentest thou not with me, Mephibosheth? And he answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For thy servant said, I will saddle me an ass, that I may ride thereon, and go to the king, because the servant is lame. And he hath slandered thy servant unto the Lord the king. But my lord the king is an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in thine eyes. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king. Yet didst thou set thy servant among them, that did eat at thine own table. What right, therefore, have I yet to cry any more unto the king? And the king said unto him, Why speakest thou any more of thy matters? I have said, Thou and Ziba divide the land. And Mephibosheth said unto the king, Yea, let him take it all, for as much as the Lord the king is come again in peace unto his own house. Okay. So, Mephibosheth, his name means scatterer of shame. His feet were crippled.
Right.
And possibly he had bandages that need to be changed on his feet. And from the time that David left to the time he came back, it says here that Mephibosheth didn't cut his beard. And, Hebrews normally shave the upper lip, and they keep the bottom lip, kind of like what James was doing there. You grow the bottom lip, then you shave the top,
Whiskers.
and you carefully trim the beard from ear to ear, and they'd also dye it black or dye it red. Yes. This was a very spiritual thing for the Hebrew people to have a beard. Okay,
Right.
and that's why you see Mormon people having beards. You know what I'm saying? That the culture of the religion seeps into other religions.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm glad we don't have to paint our beards black or red. But
If you want to.
but he must have looked like a wild man because he hadn't shaved his beard for several years. Right? Not just months.
No, because since he left.
Yeah, it's been years. He hasn't taken a bath for several years, shaved his face, nor changed the bandages on his feet. That's a bad thing to even think about. It almost starts smelling here when I'm talking about it.
I know, right?
Okay. So his clothes were unwashed and he reeked. And when
And
David
this is how you
saw...
go before the king.
Yes. But when David saw him, he says, "Why did you not come with us?" And poor Mephibosheth says, "I was tricked by Ziba." Okay? Now, I think that Ziba thought that David would execute those who did not prove to be true to him.
Right.
Okay.
He's hoping to get rid of him one way or another.
Yeah, so the uprising of Absalom, since he tricked Mephibosheth into being stranded at home, he thought David would have Mephibosheth killed. Okay? So Ziba was thinking he would obtain his property, not only but that, by leaving him at home, it made it look like Mephibosheth was going against David, not going with him. But the fact is that he had not cleaned himself or dressed himself, means that he had nothing to do with any kind of uprising at all.
Right.
He couldn't have, not in that condition.
Right.
You know. And he also said that Ziba slandered him. And I like the word, I had to look that word up. In verse 27, your version may say something different. He says, "He slandered thy servant." The word slandered
here as well.
It says slandered.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
Okay, the word is regal, and it means talebearer or backbiter.
R-E-G.
R-A-G-A-L, a talebearer or a backbiter. He basically, Mephibosheth said, "Don't believe what you've been hearing about me. People are backbiting me." Does that ever happen in the church?
Never.
Never.
More often than it
Oh
should.
my.
It shouldn't.
It should.
It shouldn't, but it
You're
does.
right, James. It should.
It shouldn't, but it does. It really does.
That's the worst part.
And,
A lot of
and
churches, they're a church, the church of the regal.
what's that?
A lot of churches, they're the church of the regal.
The Church of Regal. Well, that's a good one. Put that on the name of a bunch of them. Church of Regal. The Church of the Tailbearers. Church of the Backbiters. Oh my. What does this world come
The
to?
more they smile at you, the worse they bite you.
Yeah. Now, I like what it said in verse 28. No, I don't have to hurry yet. Okay, when it says in 28 that he noticed, he says, "For all my father's house were but dead, but you, God, you invited me to the table." And I think about that as, we studied the table earlier. I mean, I like the fact that God has a table for us. You know, a lot of people talk about, and now I'm going to get myself in trouble again, a lot of people talk about the marriage supper of the Lamb. I'm not looking forward necessarily to the marriage supper of the Lamb. I'm looking forward to his table in the wilderness. That's what it says in the book of Psalms. There was a table in the wilderness which fed me. The marriage supper of the Lamb is when the kings of the world will be eaten by the fowls of the air. That's what it says. It's not going to be a very brilliant day here on the earth. It's not going to be a banquet table like you see in the pictures. I am sorry, that's not what the Bible says. If you want to look it up, it's in the book of Revelation, and it doesn't say anything about a banquet table and us eating with Jesus there. It talks about birds of the air coming down and God destroying all his enemies and standing on Mount Zion and having the mountain split in two from the sea to sea when Jesus puts his feet on the earth.
Can you believe that? That's going to be like so magnificent. I mean, just think about it.
Yes.
Anyway, let's go on.
I know, I get off on a tangent there. And it's like,
I'm with you.
wow.
Go ahead.
And then David says to Mephibosheth after all this, because he said that Mephibosheth said, I was afraid that he was going to get me killed. Ziba was going to get me killed. And you know what? David did not side with Mephibosheth necessarily.
No, he didn't.
No. Because apparently Ziba had taken care of the land, had done what David had said, and David says, we'll divide the land between both of you.
But the error that David made was that, once again, he didn't consult the Lord.
Yes, you're right. We see him in particular instances where he consults the Lord, and in this instance, I'm king, I'm going to do it.
Like when they took the ark into battle. It
Yes.
asked the Lord didn't take it. What happened? It was captured by the Philistines.
Right. Now, how did David react how did Mephibosheth react to David when David told him, I'm going to divide the land between you and him?
Just give them all.
That's what he said. He says, just give them all to him.
See, because I didn't think that was fair that he divided the land.
I didn't either, but you know that Mephibosheth had already been guaranteed the right to eat at the king's table forever.
So he didn't really need
He
it.
didn't need any of it. He didn't need a bit of it. And remember also that Mephibosheth is the son of the most beloved friend that was killed.
But my brother.
Yeah. So this meant something to David.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know,
This meant a lot to David.
I guess I didn't like the fact that Ziba was rewarded for being dishonest.
He was a little tiny bit dishonest, but he felt like it was his land anyway.
Okay.
I didn't understand though about Mephibosheth. I don't care if he's lame. Couldn't have got a donkey somewhere in those years and gone to take it.
Oh, I know.
And I'm wondering if David was thinking that when he said, you know, why are you still going on about this?
And you know what? You're right about that, because I was thinking the same thing, because I'm like, if he was able to eat, somebody was able to take care of him.
Uh-huh.
Got the power!
We got the power.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking, I'm like, if he was being able to be
Let's come out the
fed.
speakers. Glory to God. Hey.
Yeah, but,
Okay, we still got some time. Now, go ahead. We were talking about...
well, it's like Mephibosheth had all the blessings of the king.
Right.
And it's like having 5 garages full of all these exotic cars, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and you have this Chevrolet over here that is yours personally. You want the Chevrolet? Let it go.
Yeah.
You know, you have all these other vehicles that are at your disposal. Why do you want this car? Give it up. So he gave the land up.
So it's a simple thing for Mephibosheth to make the decision that,
Sure.
hey, let me ask you something. Do you want all the riches of the world, or do you want to sit at the king's table?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I wasn't having a problem so much with Mephibosheth. I was having more problems. Why did Ziba get rewarded?
Yeah, why?
For being deceiving.
But you got to realize the wicked sometimes get rewarded. I mean,
Yeah.
you know?
Not often, but they do.
Well, you know what?
What's that?
These deceivers reward deceivers.
True. Okay, we have a few minutes. I'm going to go and continue reading a little bit. Lesson 19, verse 31. Barzillai rewarded. Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim and went over Jordan with the king and to conduct him over Jordan. And Barzillai was a very aged man, even 80 years old, and he had provided the king of substance while he lay at Mahanaim, for he was a very great man.
Good job.
And the king said unto Barzillai, come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. And Barzillai said unto the king, how long have I to live, that I should go up with the king unto Jerusalem? I am this day 80 years old, and can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore should I, thy servant, be yet a burden unto my lord the king? Thy servant will go a little way over Jordan with the king. And why should the king recompense it me with such a reward? Let thy servant, I pray thee, turn back again, that I may die in my own city, be buried by the grave of my father and my mother. And behold thy servant Chimham, let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what seemeth good unto thee. And the king answered, Chimham shall go over with me, and I will do to him that which shall seem good unto thee. And whatsoever thou shalt require of me, that will I do for thee. All the people went over Jordan, and when the king was come over, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned unto his place. Then the king went on to Gilgal, and Chimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah conducted the king, and also 1/2 of the people of Israel. All right. We've got just a few minutes. We're not going to finish this part. But first of all, we see this man Barzillai. We've studied him before. His name means iron-hearted, right? He's got a heart of iron. And it says here they came down from Rogalim. Rogalim is the place to wash clothes. It's the fuller's place. And did you know they had certain places where you wash clothes?
Laundromat.
Yeah, they had laundromats. And you don't want to know how they washed clothes sometime back in the old days. So, never mind.
How?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I like my.
Now, how old was Barzillai? He was 80 years old. And it says here that he had provided David with sustenance. That word there is kul. I like that, kul, K-U-L. And it means the keep or provisions of nourishment. Here we find him taking care of David again. This old man takes care of David over. Every time he passes by, he's the guy you go to and he invites you into his home and takes care of you. And he had some good excuses, though. David wanted him to go to Jerusalem and live the rest of his days in Jerusalem. So what reasons did Barzillai say he could not go? Number one.
How long do I have to live?
Yeah, I'm kind of old. I mean, you know.
I don't want to make that journey, please.
That's another one. I don't want to make that journey. I know my mother's 87, and sometimes she has a hard time just going out to eat with me. I mean, you know, it's just that way, you know. Even though she takes care of herself, lives by herself. Okay. Then he also says, as I get older, he says, I don't know what good and evil is anymore. That's a weird thing to say, but I don't think that's what he meant.
Mine says, I'm 80 years old and I can no longer enjoy anything.
I can no longer enjoy anything. That's kind of what it says. He says, I don't know what is good, what's good, and what's bad. And then he says, then he tells you why he has that problem. He says, my taste buds are gone.
Yeah,
I don't know what tastes good and what don't taste good, you know? I would hate to have that happen to me.
Amen.
Woo! I mean, there's some things, I myself like food, period. I mean, I have very little, I think the only thing I've ever tried I really didn't care for very much was kimchi. And I myself will try anything. I mean, I was raised around the ocean, and if it crawls, I'll eat it, you know? But this poor guy, he's lost his taste.
He's lost his hearing.
He's lost his hearing. And oh my, Dale, wouldn't you hate to lose your hearing?
Oh my God.
No longer hear women singing, it says, young men singing. You can't hear them, they're just going like this, you know, and opening their mouth and nothing's coming out, you know?
I'd rather lose my sight.
And I'm almost done. He says, I don't think I would be very much fun to have along.
There I am.
That's basically what he was saying. He's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
He's a really good old guy,
Because
you
mine
know?
says, why should I, I would only be a burden to you, my Lord the King.
Yes. And you know, also this is interesting too. Barzillai plans on seeing David across the river. And I couldn't help but think when Moses seen Joshua go across the river. And Joshua had to stay, Moses had to stay behind, remember?
Yeah.
Because of the sin he had in his life. So, here, David invites him, but of course he says he has to go back. And he even gives some more reasons. He says, I don't want to die anywhere but home. My mother has said that I don't want to go to a nursing home. I don't want to die in a hospital. If I die, I want to die in my own house.
Right.
And she's also very happy that my dad did not die in her house. That's what she tells me, you know. Yeah.
Oh.
And so Barzillai, I'm going to close. Barzillai says I want to send this young man Chimham along, and his name means pine or long after. Not that means anything, but I always like to share it.
Chimham is his son.
It's his son.
Son.
Is his son?
Josephus says it's his son.
It's his son.
Oh, really? Okay, I did not read that on Josephus. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, that would make more sense that he was the son, because he wanted him to go along, and he did. Okay, now David agrees to take him, and he basically says, "I love you, and I'll do anything for you."
That's right.
They part as friends, And here we have another Bible kiss. David kisses Barzillai, or the other way around, right? No, the king kissed Barzillai. And he also gives him a barak.
Right.
A barak. Right? A barak. A blessing.
Blessing.
Yeah. Somebody stole that name, you know that.
Yes, I did.
Sure isn't a blessing.
It's the Obama part of it. Oh.
Depends on what side you're on.
Yeah.
You're not living in the U.S., it might have been a blessing.
And finally, I'm going to close with this one. I need to close really quick. Is that when they were conducted over Jordan, it says that only half of the people of Israel conducted it.
Right.
Conducted with it. So there's still a problem in the kingdom. There's still some sort of little bit of problem here in the kingdom. Okay, God bless you. I've run out of time. Next week we will start part 6 of lesson 19, which is Judah versus Israel. And we'll go back to war again. Okay, God bless.